Display here. Okay. All right. Well, good afternoon and thank you for joining us. My name is Jeff Dubis and I've been teaching forestry at UMFK for a little over 20 years now. I started in fall of '99. I've really enjoyed my time here. It's a great school and we've got a really good program here. I myself have been the head of the program since about 2014. Besides myself in forestry, we have two other faculty members who are relatively new. One is Professor Nicole Rogers. She joined us in 2018, and she teaches a large number of classes within the program. And then we also have Professor Neil Thompson, who started in 2017. He's in kind of a unique position. He teaches half-time and he also does forest research for half the time. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Applied Forest Management program here, what we do, what we cover, the type of jobs that are available, internships and that sort of thing. And then if there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them. So our program here is an associate's degree program, and most associate degree programs are 2-year programs. It requires 4 semesters to complete them. But because in forestry there's so much information that is important that we must cover, and to make sure that our graduates have the skills they need to go onto the workforce, our program takes a little bit longer. It's 5 semesters, so 2.5 years. So it's a little different, and that may seem like it has some disadvantages, but it also has advantages that I'll explain to you here in a couple minutes. Our program is really hands-on. Fall semesters, students spend a lot of their time outside learning and actually doing what they learned about in the classroom, either the previous spring or maybe earlier in the week indoor in the classroom. But we spend a lot of time outside. About 600 hours of our program is spent, well, either outside or in doing lab work inside, but the majority of that is outside. And again, because of our winters here, we try to do as much field work as we can in the fall semester when we can see the ground. Like here, you can see a couple of students looking at soils, and other cases looking at plants, and those things you can't do when you get 3-4 feet of snow on the ground. So the springs tend to be a little bit more in the classroom, and fall tends to be very heavy to field work. It's very field intensive. You also in this program, you get very personalized attention. You can go to some colleges and have 50, 100, 150 students in a classroom. Here, our average forestry class size is probably around 8 to 10 students, sometimes even less. This picture here you can see on the left, that was taken in August. We have a 1-week class in August. And there was myself, that's Nicole standing in the picture, talking to the students, and we only had 4 students in the class. And we spent 5 days out in the field with them away from campus. So you can get really personalized attention here. We're all on first name basis with our students. I'm Jeff. The other 2 faculty go by their first names, and we get to know our students very quickly when they come into the program. So that's very different than what you might find at some bigger institutions, even in forestry. So the forests, the lakes, and the rivers of northern Maine and eastern Canada are really our classroom. So we really utilize this big area to the west of us here, just to the west of Fort Kent, where there's no towns, there's no stores, there's no houses, nothing but trees, rivers, lakes, and logging roads. And this really becomes a big part of our classroom here. So we're really excited to have access to these forests so close to campus. We can be out on working forest, so forest land that's owned by either the state or by the forest industry within 10 minutes of campus. And if we just need to get out quick to the forest, a 5-minute walk across campus, and we can be in several hundred acres of woods. So we have, quick and easy access to all of this. This picture up here, this is the Allagash River. Very famous river for canoe trips, and I'll talk in a few minutes. We have a camp, university camp, that's located within a mile of that, and that's where I spend a week with my students every year. And that's very close to campus, within about an hour-and-a-half drive from campus. So the forest up here is a great classroom, but it's also a great place to recreate, and that's really how our students in forestry spend their spare time. Many of them hunt and fish, others snowmobile, many ski. Myself, I'm a skier, but we have access to all this right outside our door. So this is, if you're an alpine skier, this is our, you can see down the lower left-hand corner, our little ski hill in town. On the top of that hill is a world-class Nordic ski center. That's where I spend most of my free time in the winter. And we've had many, many national and even international level events. World Cups and World Championships have been held here in Fort Kent for Nordic skiing and the sport of biathlon. If you like snowmobiling, a lot of our students will bring their snowmobile here, park it at the lodge, one of our dorms here on campus, drive across the soccer field, and they're on snowmobile trails, and they can go hundreds of miles in any direction. ATV trails right close to campus, great fishing nearby, hunting. One thing, a lot of our students do hunt, which means they have to bring their guns to school. Well, guns are obviously not allowed on campus, but our local police department allows the students to leave their guns at the police department. And when they go out hunting, they stop at the police department, check out their shotgun, check out their rifle, go hunting. And at the end of the day, they bring it back, no questions asked. So that makes it very easy for our students to enjoy the sports that they like to do. So that's a big part of the culture here in northern Maine at UMaine Fort Kent. So what do we actually teach in forestry? Well, we teach a lot of different things. But one thing I really want to stress here is that we're at the forefront of really the best technology that's being used today, and not just in forestry, but in any kind of natural resource career. So if you look at these images here, these are images, LiDAR, what's known as LiDAR images, so light detection and ranging. So you're thinking, well, what is that? Well, think of it this way. A plane flies over the Earth, and in that plane, they have a laser that shoots down 300,000 laser beams per second and actually scans the surface of the Earth. So what you get are these really, really accurate models of what the terrain looks like. This is the type of thing that is used a lot in forestry. So for instance, in my classes, students have to lay out a forest road, so a road that'd be used for logging. So they'll look at the LiDAR data first before they even go in the field and find out the best location for that road. They'll also use this for harvest layout, so laying out a harvesting job. We can not only determine things about the terrain, but we can also learn about the trees. We can determine from LiDAR data, we know how much volume is there, how big the trees are, how much volume, how tall they are. We know all this information before we even step out in the field. And plus we have that terrain imagery as well. So this LiDAR stuff just gives us all kinds of information about the terrain. And so this is what we're using in a lot of our classes today. To give you an example, this is a project that I'm working on right now for a local ski club. So I'm developing a new trail map for Nordic Ski Center about 20 miles east of us here. And you can see here, this is the LiDAR imagery. So it gives you a good idea of what the terrain looks like, where the trails are going to go. So here I can see I've got a river, a small stream here. I've got some steeper slopes here. I've got a road here. I can actually see people's houses. So you can see all kinds of detail from this LiDAR data. So this is just one of the things that we're using here a lot at UMFK. And this is really state of the art in forestry right now. So in general, we're really heavily oriented towards the skills that graduates need to be successful in this forestry profession. We work very close with forest industry. We work close with private foresters, consulting foresters, state foresters, to make sure that our students are getting the skills that they need. So in this case here's some students out looking at a harvesting job. We don't teach our students to run harvesting equipment. You don't need to go to college for that. But our students learn about the equipment, what type of ability it has, what type of equipment to use in what situations for harvesting. And of course, a big part in forestry is like laying out harvest operations, ahead of time and then supervising those jobs. In this case here, this person that's got his back to us, he's actually the owner of this $600,000 processor that we have that we're looking at here. And this machine cuts the trees, delimbs it, cuts the branches off, and then determines the amount of volume in the wood. And this student graduated from the UMFK Forestry and Business program, and 6 months later bought this piece of machinery, went into business for himself, and he since has at least doubled in size. As I've already mentioned, we do a lot with technology. Here you see students working in our Geographic Information System lab. So Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, is you can look at it simply as a way to create maps, like the map I just showed of the ski trails I'm working at. I'm creating those maps in GIS using LiDAR technology and also GPS that I'll talk about here in a minute. So in GIS, we tie all these things together and we create maps for any kind of natural resource project that we might be working on. So a lot of technology. Here you see students working with some state-of-the-art global positioning systems. I'm sure many of you are familiar with GPS. It's in everything today. It's in cars, it's in your phone. You can have it in your watch. But we use this a lot for mapping and for recording information out in the field, and then we can bring it into the GIS and include that information in our maps. So we have students will learn several different types of GPS units while they're here, because that's a technology that's used all the time in forestry today. You'll also learn about such things as how to build forest roads according to regulations, and how to build them in a way that's not going to have any negative impact on our natural resources. No, you won't actually get to run big equipment, but when you graduate from a program here, you might be the one laying out the road or supervising the road building project. So you need to learn about how to go about doing that. So that's one of the things we teach here. We're also really big on the ecological side of the forest. So we spend a lot of time talking about how forests grow, why do they grow in certain ways, what species grow in what areas. Here you can see students in a lab from this past summer looking at forest soils. So we talk a lot about the relationship between, say, forest soils and the trees that grow on them. So certain trees are going to grow on different type of soils. So we spend a lot of time talking about these ecological processes. And finally, and there's many other things, I'm just touching on a few areas here. We cover a lot in terms of forest protection. So what do we do to protect the forest? So we have, insect problems, disease problems. So you'll have the opportunity to learn about insects and diseases and how they impact the forest. Here we have students in a class that we're doing a prescribed burn just off campus. So burning the understory as part of a laboratory to learn how to do this process and learn why we would actually do a prescribed burn like this. And our students will actually take a class that gets them certified to go anywhere in the country or in Canada to fight forest fires too. So that's a really exciting opportunity for anybody in forestry. So like I said, the forestry degree here is an associate's degree program, but there's different options or different educational pathways that students can take in forestry. So what I've pretty much described to you so far is just the associate's degree in applied forest management. That's just the 5 semesters that many of our students, about half our students will do. And when they graduate with that 2-year degree, they can go straight into the workforce. And so, as you can see in the upper right here, it says this is an excellent opportunity for students who want to go and work in an industrial forestry setting, and they want to do so with only a couple of years of college. They don't want to go for the full 4 years. Students with this 2-year degree, I can tell you, are very competitive with those students coming out of a 4-year forestry degree program at other schools. We have about a 90% placement rate. So what I mean by that is upon graduation, or within 1 year of graduation, about 90% of our students have permanent jobs in forestry or forestry related career options. So very good opportunity for students to go directly into the workforce. The second option, though, combines our applied forest management degree with a business degree. There is a lot in business. A big component of forestry is business. So this is a good opportunity for students who want to work in forestry, but maybe want to have a little bit more ability to move upward in a company as they progress through their career. So this here will enable you to move, give you greater upward mobility in your career than just doing the 2-year degree. But it too, you know, a large number of our students that get both of these degrees are very, very successful in finding jobs when they graduate from here. And then finally, and this is a new combination for us, a combination of the applied forest management degree and also a bachelor's degree in conservation law enforcement. So we refer to this as the natural resource concentration within the conservation law program. So what this does is it gives you the associate's degree in forestry with the bachelor's degree in conservation law. And this opens up a lot of different career opportunities in natural resources, still fully able, qualified for any forestry jobs, but now you've got law enforcement in there as well. And there's also opportunities for other natural resource positions with this degree combination as well. But what it's really good for, if you are interested in becoming a Maine State Forest Ranger, this is the ideal combination of degrees. You can become a Maine Forest Ranger with just the associate's degree. Many of our students have done that. But with this degree, it gives you all the skills that you really need now to be a forest ranger. In addition to learning about forestry and learning about wildland firefighting, now it also puts the law enforcement side in there too now, because Maine Forest Rangers are now full law enforcement officers. So it really gives you the 3 big skills that they need, and they're really happy to see us build this particular program. So that's a great option if you want to become a forest ranger or say a park ranger someplace else in the country. Another great thing that we have here is the Elmer Violet Wilderness Camp. So this is where every August I'll spend a week with my students just before the regular semester starts. So it's a week-long intensive forestry camp, and we do a number of different labs. We spend time with different landowners, and we might get a little bit of chance to recreate when we're out there. But for many of the students, this is the highlight of their 2.5 years at UMFK. It's a great experience where we're 2 hours away from campus, 50 miles in on dirt roads, no internet, no cell phone, no real contact with the outside world. Yeah, we have a satellite phone in case of emergencies, but it just really gives everybody a chance to really be immersed in forestry in the North Maine woods and see what it'd be like to have a career up here. So the type of careers that await our graduates, many of our students go on to work as foresters or forest technicians in the forest industry or working with consulting foresters. So they are the ones that are out there supervising harvest jobs, preparing management plans for landowners, determining how much timber volume there is out in the woods, working on mapping projects or other ecological projects. Some of our students become forest rangers. We've had a few students go on to be surveyors. Some even open their own businesses, especially in timber harvesting or as consulting foresters. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. And like I said, right around 90% of our students within a year of graduation will have a job in forestry. But to get that job, what you really need to do is get a summer internship. And although an internship is not required for the forestry program, it is required if you want to get a job in forestry or a forestry related career when you graduate from here. So all of our students, or most of our students, will each summer get themselves an internship. So here, these two guys, they had just finished their freshman semester here. So they're in their first summer, and they were hired by Irving, which is one of the big landowners up here. They were actually supervising tree planting crews. So they weren't the ones planting the trees, they were the ones supervising the crews that actually do it. So it's a lot of responsibility given to our students right in the beginning. And the landowners, the companies that hire our students say that our students are really ready to hit the ground running because they have so much field experience. Here's another example of a couple of our students that were on a wildfire up in Quebec. So they had the opportunity to go fight fires in Quebec. So some of our students will choose that option during the summer. Here's another couple of students working on an assessment project. They're looking at regeneration of the forest after a harvest. This was a plantation that was probably planted 5-10 years earlier, and they're looking at the success rate of the trees that were planted. Here you just see another student who had a job with another company, Wagner Forest Management, here in the state. And then even during the school year, there may be opportunities here. We've got 3 students that are involved in a research project for one of our faculty here. So we can sometimes hire our students during the school year to work in forestry as well. Who hires our students? A large number of companies do. So this is just some of the names of some of the larger landowners around here. And this isn't all the companies by any imagination, but just some of the more common ones. But a lot of our students will also go work for the state of Maine, or even though we don't have a lot of students who do this, which is too bad, but they're fully qualified to do this, to go out west or even into New Hampshire, Vermont, work for the U.S. Forest Service, or maybe go out west and work for the Department of Interior. So there's a lot of job opportunities out there. And one thing I forgot to mention is that when it comes to getting internships, the companies call us. You don't usually have to go looking to them. Here it is November, and I've already set up interviews, had interviews with 3 companies here on campus. Well, they didn't come to campus this year, they did it remote. But so our students have already had the chance to interview with 3 companies, and I've got another one that within the next week or 2 is probably going to be doing interviews. So a lot of our students will know what they're doing this summer before Christmas. So a lot of really good opportunities out there.
With the internships, a lot of them are paid, right?
Oh yeah, they're all paid. Most of them are anywhere from about $12 to $16 an hour with overtime. Sometimes they include housing. A lot of times they include a vehicle, so you don't have to use your personal vehicle. In some cases you do, like Wagner, this company you see listed here, you need to use your own personal vehicle, but they also pay you like 55 cents a mile. So you get paid really well to use your own vehicle. So a lot of good benefits. Okay, and that's all I have. Now it's time for questions. If anybody has any questions for me.
Please put them in the chat. Jeff, I had a few before you started, and then as you were going, I was like, he touched on everything I would have asked.
Okay.
That's fantastic. Yeah, feel free, attendees or guests today, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat while we hold tight for a few minutes and wait if anything shows up. But yeah, you really covered it all, from forest rangers to firefighting, and I loved that slide where it showed the different avenues that you can take, because we really got into the 5-semester associate's degree, but also you can do the 5-semester associate's degree and then say, oh, I really want to go into this realm of forestry.
Right, and I didn't mention that even though the forestry program is 5 semesters, with careful planning, students can get either the business or the conservation law program done in another 3 semesters. So it's 4 years with 2 degrees, which is a great opportunity. And even if you just do the straight forestry and you think, well, it's 5 semesters rather than 4 for a traditional associate's degree, it gives you 2 summers to work. So that makes yourself even more employable when you're done. And a lot of schools will also have summer camps, so you have to spend several weeks in school. We do 1 week. But if you're at one of those schools where you have to go to summer camp, you can't work. So here you can work.
And that's a fantastic opportunity that you get 2 summer semesters to do that internship. Yeah. We actually we have a question. Oh, were you going to say something, Jeff?
No, go ahead.
One of our attendees asked, how do you get a wildland firefighter certification for both the US and Canada?
Good question. So in the spring semester, it would be for first year students, we have a class called Forest Protection 1. And in that class, the students get certified to fight fire. So that class is actually taught by Maine forest rangers. There's about a half a dozen of them that come in over the course of the semester. It's an evening class, and for about 10 weeks, it's mostly lecture. But then in the spring, they have the opportunity to do some hands-on training. They can do their physical fitness test. And when they're done, they get their what they call S130, 190 certification, and that will enable them to go out west and to Canada to fight fires. If they don't complete the whole class, they can still fight fires in Maine. I think if they don't do the physical fitness thing, I'm not quite sure on this, they can still fight fires in Maine. They can't go out west. But anyways, and there's no, you pay your regular tuition rate. There's no additional fee to get that certification. And I just had a graduate of our program from many years ago, long before I was here. He's in charge of a helitech firefighting crew out in Montana, and he's been sending me information on summer jobs. And we do have one student right now that's really interested in going out there.
I would love to. I know a lot of our students, tend to. What's the big difference actually, between our program and possibly programs out west in the same field, forestry? Or what are the opportunities for them to go, even more opportunities for them to go out west?
So for students to come from here to go out west, you're saying?
Well, more like if a student was from out west, came
Okay.
to Maine to do their degree, and then wanted to go and return home.
Yeah, they could do that without any issues. Forestry, it can be specific towards, because the forests are different in different areas. So the western forests are very different than the eastern forests. So our forests tend to be wetter. We don't have, like fire doesn't play as big of a role in our forests as it does out west. So that's a big difference. And they're probably going to spend more time discussing wildland fire out west because it is, plays a bigger role in the ecosystem. But a lot of the principles that are taught at forestry schools are the same. We're an accredited program, and accredited programs all have to cover the same material. I mean, there's going to be differences in how it's covered, but all that material has to be there. So if somebody from a western state want to come here for forestry, they definitely could. And when you start looking at some of the other New England states, they don't have forestry programs at their colleges, or they don't have two-year programs. And that's one real advantage that we have here is with a two-year program. Again, our students can get done sooner. They're applying for the same jobs and getting the same jobs the students coming out of four-year programs are. And they can do it at less cost. And like in Maine, foresters need to get licensed. And it's a combination of 6 years of education and work and on-the-job training. So think about it. You can go to school for 4 years, pay all that tuition, and then work for 2 years. Or you can go to school for 2 years, or 2.5 in our case, and work for 4 years, plus 2 summers, and pay a lot less in education fees and still get that same license.
Our tuition is amazing for both in-state and out-of-state students, and we do offer merit-based scholarships from the admissions if you're eligible for those scholarships upon applying. So, it can't go wrong.
You're right.
With the hands-on experience that you'll receive here, and the field experience and the low cost, it's definitely a win-win.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and if you want to, as you were doing your presentation and you mentioned Neil, I thought, oh, for our students who are on social media, there is Neil does great TikTok videos. If you want to follow him, I am putting the links to both our TikTok and Instagram social media accounts and our Facebook account, but also Forestry Professor Neil Thompson on TikTok. And I follow him so I can learn about the program, and it's both comedic and informative. And watching his TikToks will make you feel like, oh, I already know my future professor.
So yeah, and I think he's got like 11,000 followers or something crazy.
He's like
so, which is
TikTok
great.
Famous.
Yeah.
Great. So if you're on that, we can definitely see what it's like a day in the life of a forester at UMFK or forestry professor. And same thing with our UMFK ADM. We put up admissions updates, but also things like fun stuff, what our students are up to. So we mix the business and the fun if you'd like to follow us on any social media platforms.
And one thing I want to mention too is that we have articulation agreements with a lot of CTE programs in Maine, in Vermont, so high school natural resource programs. So if there's anybody out there that's attending a high school that has a CTE forestry or natural resource program, there's a chance that we may have an articulation agreement that'll can count for up to 6 credit hours here at UMFK.
We try to make your experience here worthwhile and take into consideration the work you've done before coming here as well. So that goes for transfer students or students who are coming in with credits already from certain high schools or programs. Great. Well, Jeff, thank you for joining us today. If we have any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. But judging from the no questions after that one, I think that means we've done a thorough and good job, Jeff.
Okay, well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, attendees. If you do have any questions, the admissions office is always here for you. We are posting this recording on social media and YouTube. So if you missed something, you can always log in and see after we've posted, you can rewatch it. And if you have any more questions, we're all available. I know Jeff would be more than happy to answer any questions.
Definitely.
Via email or phone or Zoom. And that goes the same for all of the admissions office as well. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And I hope you guys have a good Saturday. And wherever you are in the world, stay warm and enjoy the sun while it's out.
All right. See you, Sarah.
Bye-bye.